Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Tiana here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Princess Peach Showtime for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to fully begun exploring through certain plays in Journey Forms Within Floor 5, which not only we did somehow tackle through Mighty Mission, the Rescue, as well as a Kung Fu Legend, and on top of that, with the Forms of the Basement Floor department, is that we somehow tackle through the Dark School and the Twisted Fist, and also Dark Space and the Great Meteor. So yeah, we somehow did a lot of those specific things around here, so no matter what though, we're actually getting ourselves some pretty good progression so far. Especially about the fact that we've almost collected every single Sparkle Gems up to this point, but then again though, we'll be back for collecting some more Sparkle Gems until eventually later on, because as you can tell, that unlike the Forms of how it does it on Floor 4, that we did somehow manage to did some pretty good progression on the Forms Within Floor 4, and it's not too shabby during the Forms Within Floor 5 so far anyway. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing things on in Journey Forms of not only in Floor 5, but as well as the basement floor as well. Because, relatively speaking we've decided able to tackle through not only the second act in Journey Forms of not only Figure Skater Peach, as well as the Forms of Mermaid Peach as well, but also we're about to tackle through the third and the final act, also for the sake of the Forms of not only Mermaid Peach, but also with Figure Skater Peach as well. So this means, I think it's definitely possible about the fact that we can able to rescue every single Sparklers basically. Because I'm sure enough though, we've only got 2 more Sparklers left to rescue, so hopefully though, we're about to get this thing started. So here we go into a parade on ice. So, obviously though, this is the second act in Journey Forms Within Figure Skater Peach. So, because the last time we actually experienced Figure Skater Peach was back in Journey Forms Within the second floor basically. So, but here's the thing though, because it almost goes pretty well, except the fact I accidentally missed one of those Sparkle Gems basically. But then again though, we'll be back for that particular play eventually, so don't you guys worry. So, I'm sure enough though, we still got plenty of time left, just before when, hopefully, by that time, until 2 weeks left now, is that obviously Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake is still approaching, or fast approaching. So because of that though, oh, and speaking of which though, is about the fact that I'm sure that Sonic has totally forgotten to mention about this, is that out of nowhere, much like the Forms of how it does it on Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the story begins little trailer of any sorts. Basically though, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is also going to be receiving its intro trailer, just like the Forms of how it does it in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake, except the noticeable differences this time is that for what I've double checked in Journey Forms that specific footage, it looks pretty darn nice, as far as I'm aware. Mind you, it's like an up-res version of the Forms of this beloved 3DS game back in 2013. Same applies with the Forms of Super Mario 3D Land as well, but either way. So, as you can tell, in Journey Forms of this particular play around here, this particular scene right here is auto-scrolling, so because of that though, this means about the fact that if we really want to able to actually get ourselves every single Sparkle Gems on this bit, obviously though it's about the fact that we must make sure we don't miss any of those things. So, and I get the horrible feeling about the fact that I might able to mess this up right here, because I didn't exactly pay attention to what's going on. So because of that though, yeah, I'm afraid to tell you, getting that Sparkle Gem is not possible because I was too late. So, but then again though, hopefully we'll be back for that eventually. Journey Forms Within a post-game content either way. So, anyway though, because of that though, because that's the reason why, that I've already explained about the fact that yes indeed, we're just about 2 weeks left now until Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake is going to be releasing. And usually relatively speaking though, because today's date of course there is the 9th of May today, in some cases in 2024 today. Now, I was originally trying to mention about something related to the Forms of the Nintendo Switch, to be more specifically, with the updated sales numbers when it comes to not only hardware units, but it's also with the software library as well. But I suppose it's probably best if we let Sonic or Mighty and Ray are both going to be mentioning about that and doing at some point for the sake of the forms of the continuation portions of the forms of Super Mario Advance. So no matter what though, I suppose that it's probably best if we wait on that for a while. Oh, looks like he's back again, or she is back I should say. So no matter what though, meaning about the fact that she's up for revenge after the events of Act 1 basically. So hopefully though, we should be able to actually be victorious, just like the forms of how it does it in Act 1, except the fact that obviously though, this stage is going to be relatively shorter compared to the forms of how it does it in Act 1, because every time whenever we go back into Act 1, I can assure to you for this point, that obviously though is about the fact that we can able to actually skip the actual cinematic cutscenes now, although you can technically do that from the get-go whenever you're first time able to actually transform into something technically, but I didn't exactly thought about it actually, because obviously I just want to see the actual glorious transformation sequences in gorgeous HD. Mind you about the fact that this is on 720p, I'm pretty sure that's where it's at, during the forms of the actual gameplay itself or something. Well, mind you, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure. And relatively speaking though, actually, it's about the fact that we are getting very, very close towards the end of this entire game so far. Well, aside from the fact that there might be still some more post-game content along the way, well, I suppose that again though, we should probably save that particular topic if we're able to actually get on with the forms of some post-game content, not until specifically next week or so, because as far as I'm aware, that once we're done with the forms of the majority of the plays, then obviously though, something is about to happen. Well, then again though, we're not going to mention about this right now, until we basically finish up with the forms of not only for this particular play, but also with the forms of Mermaid Peach play as well. So, that makes the case for this point, so either way though, let's just go in and okay, for some reason I couldn't seem able to try to get her from behind. There we go. So of course, just like last time, we need to able to recruit all of these figure skaters right here. And once you basically gather every single figure skaters right here, then obviously though we can able to actually build up with the grand finale by simply trying to circle this guy around and straight to the point after performing this particular lovely performance right there. Obviously though, this entire act is complete. Well, almost fully 100% everything, but that's just mainly because I somehow messed up on that particular, you know what I'm saying, with this parade section in Journey Forms of it. Let's just say the third Sparkle Gem that I somehow missed. So, oh well, no big deal, because then again, we'll be back for that eventually, so don't you worry. So, anyway, so we got ourselves the Figure Skater ribbon for Stella, so that way we can able to actually, you know, customize her as much as we want. So, now, as far as I'm aware, is that whenever we get to the actual, the finale portion of the game, something tells me about the fact that I'm also able to actually just to save that particular topic until for later as well, because then again, no, we're not going to mention any spoilers for the time being, because no matter what though, because this game is still relatively new at this point, especially noticeable because obviously though, this game has almost been out for 2 months almost, so ever since Journey Forms have been March in 22nd, so anyway, so that basically does it for Act 2 for Figure Skater Peach, in some cases a parade on ice, and without further ado, I suppose we should probably able to actually focus on the last play in Journey Forms within the 5th floor before we take on probably the next boss, I'm presuming. So either way though, let's just go and get into the forms of Blight of the Sea. So in some cases though, welcome to Act 2 for the likes of Mermaid Peach. So because of that though, yeah, it's been quite a while since we actually did manage to able to turn into Mermaid Peach ever since in Journey Forms have been, let's just say in floor 3 basically. So either way though, and straight to the point is about the fact that we've almost done, completely done, I should say, for the sake of the forms to turn into something, basically, until specifically towards the end game, basically, but then again, no, we're not going to mention any spoilers for the time being, just because no matter what, though, oh gee, what is going on around here? It almost kind of reminds me of the similar vibes as the forms of one of those specific scenes in The Little Mermaid, where basically though when Ariel and Flounder did manage to stumble across into this particular wrecked ship, and obviously though that happens in the beginning portion of the film, specifically the first film anyway, not so much in the forms of it, not only the second one because it focuses on Melody, which, fun fact, Melody was actually voiced by Tara Strong. Yeah. 10 years before Twilight Sparkle in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and I think it was around 2 years after Bubbles from the original Powerpuff Girls. So that's something worth noting for that particular fact. So anyways though, so let's just go and once again gather some more fishies. So just, oh wait, kind of think about it, we're actually going to be taking control of one big fish this time around. So yeah, I was not expecting that. Especially noticeable because I keep on thinking about the forms of the next level coming up, but straight to the point though is about the fact that obviously though, just like before, we need to able to guide this particular fish right here to able to actually not only open up certain clam shells, to able to reveal certain secrets as well as coins to collect, and on top of that just trying to able to get these mermaid people out of the actual brainwash department. So and yeah, nothing else I can really say about that, I guess. So, and I think straight to the point as well, is that I get the strong sense of feeling is that this entire act is going to be most likely focused on, let's just say, auto-scrolling, basically. So, after we're done with this particular part, that is. So, either way, though, let's just go ahead and do this quickly. So, yeah, nothing else I can really say about the forms of other stuff, apart from the fact that there was one specific aspect, well actually two aspects I should say, that Sonic has completely forgot to mention about during the course of the forms of Sonic Rush Let's Play. And that's what appears to be about the fact that yes indeed, that we're just about a couple of days left now until Doctor Who Series 14 is about to start. Likely also in the UK version is going to be on BBC One channel, and as far as I'm aware, oh, I totally forgot about this, is that obviously though, if you fall behind on this auto-scrolling bit, obviously though is about the fact you go all the way back to the beginning portion of this auto-scrolling section, so we must able to keep an eye on with the forms of trying to keep up, because otherwise, if you don't keep up with this at all, then obviously though you're gonna lose one of your hearts. So yeah, I need to able to concentrate on this point right here. But anyway, as I was saying about the fact that the UK version will be on BBC One. Now, unlike the American version, it's going to be on Disney+. So, yeah, kind of a strange way to able to actually have this kind of stuff. But I digress. So, as far as I'm aware, the amount of episodes we're about to be receiving for the sake of the forms of Doctor Who Series 14 as of now is that we're about to be receiving a grand total of 8 episodes. So, yeah, for instance, I get the strong feeling is about the fact that until 2 days time now, that basically though is about the fact that we're about to be receiving not 1, but 2 episodes is going to be releasing on the exact same day within the 11th of May, so it doesn't take that long to able to actually get those 2 episodes released first. So, as far as I'm aware, the first 2 episodes are Space Babies and The Devil's Shared. I think it's what it says anyway. So, as a result, I'm still a little bit optimistic to able to actually check those episodes out. And as far as I'm aware, is that until on the 18th of May, that we're about to be receiving the episode called Boom. And in episode 4 is going to be named 73 Yards, and that's going to be releasing until the 25th of May. And meanwhile, in Journey Forms in the 5th episode called Dot and Bubble, I believe that episode is going to be releasing on the 1st of June. And also, not to mention though, episode 6 called Rogue, or Rouge, that is going to be releasing on the 8th of June. And on top of that, there's also going to be episode 7 called The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and that's going to be releasing at some point on the 15th of June. And finally, most notably, Empire of... is it like Emperor or just Empire? Okay, it says Empire of Death. So, yeah, Empire of Death is going to be the final episode as of now for the likes of the forms of that particular, well, Series 14. So, again, I'm a bit optimistic about that, and as far as I'm aware, that particular episode, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be releasing until the 22nd of June. So that's going to be roughly about 3 days before Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is about to be coming out, and I would say 5 days before, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is going to be releasing. So, anyway. Oh, and speaking of which though, is about the fact that I did ask Kermit the Frog that he did somehow planned out about the fact that yes indeed, until by the midway point of, or the halfway point until May, that we're about to be able to actually pre-order not only Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, but also with the forms of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD as soon as we possibly could. So hopefully that'll make it happen, especially noticeable because obviously though, we are getting very close towards the halfway point already, for the likes of in May already. Before we move on to the 6th month, which appears to be June, and as far as I'm aware, we are getting almost very close towards the end of the first half of the whole entire year of 2024, that is. So, yeah, it's going pretty crazy to able to believe that certain days go by a lot faster than I was expecting will to. So, and yeah, that's what I can really think about it. Oh, and also, much like the forms of how it does it in Act 1, we have to perform a singing performance, or specifically the singing concert. So, and as far as I'm aware, whenever I first got to this point, whenever I first time I experienced this act, I believe I did somehow messed up when it comes to obtaining the actual Sparkle Gem, because again, you need to be absolute perfection when it comes to trying to obtain the Sparkle Gem no matter what. So, it might take a bit of while though, especially noticeable because obviously though we need to try to tilt the actual directions of where the music notes are coming from. So just to ensure it actually did somehow recognize to the point where if you're trying to pull off these specific stuff successfully though, then you sure enough you're able to actually get the Sparkle Gem no matter what. Because again, if I messed up once, that means I will not guarantee to get the Sparkle Gem no matter what. So, at least if I was assuming so anyway, although I may be wrong, but then again, no, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually have last played this for sure, so... And there we go, Act 2 for Mermaid Peach is done, so that means we can now to actually access to the 3rd and the final act for the likes of Mermaid Peach. So, yeah, and as far as I'm aware, we did somehow collect every single Sparkle Gems at the very least, as well as from that, we also managed to get ourselves our Mermaid Ribbon for Stella, so that's actually pretty swell. I love the fact that every time whenever you manage to finish the level, you're able to actually see the to be continued once you're able to press the A button, so this means there's actually more to it than that. So, whilst unlike in Journey forms have been, it's hard for me to explain, honestly, because I know for a fact that that's as far as I can try to say about this nice little detail, as far as this is concerned. But anyway, since we somehow managed to complete 4 plays during the forms of in the 5th floor, so we can expect to stumble across into the next boss fight, right? Oh, there's no door this time. Oh, okay. So this means there's no boss fight in this particular floor. So, relatively speaking, though, it's about the fact that I get this strong sense of feeling that, do you guys even remember during the forms of how the fact that we did indeed manage to complete certain rooms or certain plays during the forms of in a basement floor, right? Well, as it turns out, is about the fact I believe the basement floor is definitely going to be the true final floor indeed, because as far as I'm aware, that is where Grape was. So because of that though, yeah, we still haven't rescued the final 2 sparklers just yet, but that's okay, because obviously though, we can still to actually use the actual star lift, so just in case we can to actually just to get into the basement floor, no problem. So, but yeah, we can probably do that right about now actually. And it's also worth noting for it is that unlike the 1st floor, as well as the 2nd floor, neither especially noticeable with the 3rd floor and the 4th floor, the entire room is not even bright enough just yet, because obviously though it's about the fact that we have to still need to try to stop Grape once and for all, so just to ensure about the fact that we need to take care of the last few bits first, so... And, yeah, I don't think it's possible we can to actually tackle for those rehearsals just yet, but as you can see, the actual silhouette of Grape symbol has now shown up, so this means about the fact that that's where she was hiding all this time. So, I get the strong feeling about the fact that this game does contain a grand total of 5 bosses, not counting the forms of mini bosses by the way, so... Anyways, let's go and get to it with the forms of the third and the final act for the likes of Figure Skater Peach first, and we'll save Mermaid Peach for last, in regards to the forms of trying to rescuing all of those sparklers, basically. So, yeah, let's get to it, shall we? So, thankfully, though, those stages are going to be quite short from the look of all that stuff, though, assuming, of course, if we really want able to search for, not only certain sparkle gems, but it's also with the forms of certain ribbons as well. So because of that though, yeah, here we are on the forms of this particular play setup. So, and this place is filled to the brim with a lot of figure skaters that we definitely need to try to deal with right here. So exponentially speaking, though, is about the fact that this stage is pretty tricky at times, if only because of one specific aspect, and you'll see why until eventually later on. So, but yeah, for the most part, it's just about the fact that we just have to take care of the forms, those sour bunches for those figure skaters. Not only you can able to actually get the first sparkle gem onto that particular center portion of this arena, but it's also about the fact that we somehow managed to receive a ribbon thanks to the forms of one of those specific gentlemen that actually offer us the actual specific ribbon that we somehow obtained. And of course we have to deal with the forms of this specific little thing right here to able to actually just to pull this off, and exponentially we can able to actually get ourselves the second sparkle gem, no problem. So, anyway, there's also another thing I want to point out as well, in regards of the forms of what is going on. It's about the fact that I believe that, recently, from what I've noticed, there's actually a new, trailer, or specifically the announcement, in regards to the forms of, have you heard of a series called, Cobra Kai? Basically, though, it actually features, Jackie Chan as an actor. Well, basically, though, from what I can gather, is that it was only exclusive to Netflix, of course. And as far as I'm aware, the 6th and probably the final season, actually, is actually get ourselves the actual date announcement. Although, mind you, is about the fact that it does manage to receive not 1, not 2, but 3 parts within 3 separate release dates. So, for instance, the first part is going to be releasing at some point in July, the 18th, to be more specifically. And as far as part 2 is concerned, it's going to be releasing until November, in Journey Falls within the 28th or something. So, that's going to be on, you know, the majority of 2024, basically. Whilst meanwhile, in the third and the final part, it's going to be releasing until sometime until next year, in 2025. So because of that though, it might take a bit of a while to able to actually just try to release those things throughout, because, you know, I've not seen the actual series though, because, well, from what I can gather, it's actually quite interesting to say the least, but I'm also able to give those series a shot until specifically later on. But for now, let's go and deal with this particular figure skater right here for one final time, as of now anyway. And exponentially, we can able to actually free one of the sparklers, specifically Figure Skater Sparkler, right here. So, yeah, everything else is all pretty swell, I have to say. Although, sometimes, though, I always attempt to get hit sometimes, but that's okay, though, because every time if you pull off some successful stuff, likely, for instance, if we try to rescue one of the sparklers right here, basically, though, she actually gives us a heart for free, so that's always pretty swell. But if you think this entire act is going to be over, well, as it turns out, it's not over yet, because obviously we have to make an escape, because obviously those tons of icicles are now able to coming down. So, no matter what though, we have to able to get out of here fast. So, and I think fundamentally speaking though, there's only like 2 sparkle gems on this particular chase sequence, while trying to run away from a whole bunch of icicles coming from the skies above. So, yeah, and obviously every once in a while though is about the fact that Figure Skater Sparkler did somehow manage to team up with us for the time being to not only we can able to actually deal with a team attack by simply spinning, and on top of that we at one point, if we come towards the dead end or something, basically though is about the fact that we have to do a jump at the same time, so just in case you can able to actually advance to the next segment. So, but as you can see, since I accidentally got hit by the forms of that particular icicle from earlier ago, unfortunately though, the checkpoints doesn't exactly offer you that much, Aside from the fact that, as you can tell, I have to restart all over again because I have to make sure if I don't miss anything. As to be expected when it comes to exploration. Although keep this in mind though, this entire sequence is linear. So no matter what though, I think whenever we come towards the next checkpoint, it's gonna be specifically, let's just say on this bit or something. Likely also because of how the fact that, well, if we go back here, then we obviously get the next Sparkle Gem right here. I believe, luckily, the 5th and final one is going to be at the very end, at the very least, so we don't have to necessarily worry about this. So, dang it, I was too late. And that's what I get if I spend a little bit too long, in regards to the forms of trying to do a lot of exploration most of my time. But that's okay though, because thankfully the checkpoint is just right there. So let's just go ahead and make sure if I don't mess this up, because as you can tell, I've only got 1 heart left. So that means if I do die at one point, I'll lose 10 coins. So thankfully it's not too much punishing when it comes to the forms of that particular penalty. But regardless of everything else though, yeah, luckily we're able to actually get the 5th and final Sparkle Gem if we somehow make an escape. So there we go. So that pretty much does it for everything for Figure Skater Peach, aside from the fact that we accidentally missed not only 1, but 2 Sparkle Gems within 2 acts respectively. Like we've missed 1 in Journey Forms within Act 1, and the other one we missed in Act 2. But then again, we'll be back for those eventually, so don't you worry. So I've already on about that ever since in the majority of this entire playthrough so far, just because, then again, there's still more, content along the way in regards to the forms we're trying to tackle for this game, just like the forms of how it does it in, well, let's just say Mario vs. Donkey Kong Switch Remake, and you pretty much name the rest. So, there we go, there's our 9th Sparkler we somehow rescued, and there's only 1 more left, and that's of course Mermaid Sparkler. And that will be the 10th and the final Sparkler we must rescue. So, yeah, we're about to hit our way for this point right now, so, yeah, because as a result, once we did manage to try to rescue the 10th and the final Sparkler, this means something is about to happen. So with that being said, let's hop in here and able to actually gather the last batch of the full of those Sparkle Gems, at least for now. And I'm very surprised about the fact that the actual run-through for the basement floor is actually not too shabby, even though the only exception being is of course in Act 3 for Cowgirl, but that's just mainly because I accidentally missed not only 1 Sparkle Gem, but 2 Sparkle Gems. Like one of them it's quite missable, and the other one you have to require perfection state. So because of that though, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the forms of how the fact that every time when I mess this up, sometimes though you never guaranteed able to get that collectible sometimes. So yeah, it feels a little bit of a nuisance to me anyway. So oh jeez, it feels like the actual current is actually getting a lot more stronger and a lot more aggressive at one point. So you know what that means? It's time to able to gather some more fishies to able to actually just to open up some even more clamshells, and you pretty much name the rest. And exponentially we need to able to try to rescue the 10th and the final Sparkler throughout the whole entire game, because as far as I'm usually concerned, that it's going to be on the second big clamshell, and as far as I've noticed, the red clamshell is going to contain that particular gentleman as we saved him a couple of times during the forms within some place. Well, there's only one in particular exception to this, however, though, and that's what appears to be on the second act in Journey forms within Patisserie Peach, as far as what I've double checked on it anyway, but of course, that again, we'll be back for that eventually. So anyway, yeah, for the most part, that's all I can really think about it, aside from the fact that there's technically one more thing I want to mention about, and that, something tells me, is about the fact that in Journey forms of at some point, on the 1st of August, not only we're about to be receiving not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but a whole bunch of LEGO Super Mario sets coming up. So, for instance, it's about the fact that I believe the actual sets it might actually contain, like for instance there's going to be Soda Jungle Maker set, and there's also Goomba's Playground, the Bowser Express train, which we've already know about that, alongside with King Boo's Haunted Mansion, and finally Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle. So because of that though, yeah, that's quite a lot of sets is about to be coming up for the sake of the forms within the Super Mario Lego set, and yeah, that's everything else should be pretty swell, I might add. So And also, as far as I'm aware about this as well, that no matter what though, I believe we've only got about 4 more days to go until we are basically decided able to actually unlock the next playable character at some point in Journey Forms within the 13th of May, and as of course the yet another cosmetic character for Cream, which I'm sure enough though that we'll let Sonic will mention more about it if he decided able to go back onto Sonic Rush basically. So yeah, everything else goes all like pretty swell, you know. So as you can see, we somehow rescued the mermaid sparkler right here. So of course, as soon as we're able to actually done with the first part, and after, you know, taking care of the forms of not only we did somehow rescue one of those gentlemen, but it's also about the fact that we did somehow obtain not 1 but 2 sparkle gems in Journey Forms of the first segment. And as far as I'm aware, is that this particular play is also ridiculously short because it only contains like 3 set pieces. So yeah, it doesn't take that long to able to actually get to this point. Unlike the forms of how it does it on Detective Peach though, because my goodness, it was actually very lengthy, you know. So of course, we need to able to try to stop the forms of this particular strong, aggressive current by doing a lot more singing. And by doing so, it's about the fact that we need to able to go onto this red turtle right here, or should I say a pink turtle here, with the actual microphone built into it. And now we can able to start able to actually create a lot more music, or singing rather. But either way, I suppose there's technically another thing I want to mention about this as well, in regards of the forms of how the fact that recently Wish was now on to the biggest box office failures now, and I did somehow manage to found out about the fact that yeah, it's not the best at all. So especially that this was, you know, their celebration of 100 years as the company has actually had a rough one. So it did make past its budget, but then again, it did not break even as it was done poorly, as well as that mixed to negative reception online. At least it did well on Disney Plus on the other hand, because thankfully you don't have to worry about pay a lot more cash to able to actually see it on the big screen. So at the very least though, it's about the fact that you can now able to actually watch Wish at any time on Disney Plus, despite the fact that it does still manage to require a subscription services as far as I'm aware. So yeah, as you can tell, we did somehow get rid of those specific currents, so this means we somehow done everything for Mermaid Peach, even though despite the fact that we are still missing some more sparkle gems, specifically in Act 1, but that's just mainly because I couldn't exactly try to able to figure something else in regards of able to try to find those specific sparkle gems. But apart from those side of things though, I will say, the finale portion of Act 3, my goodness, it almost gets my eyes teary, especially noticeable. I just really love orchestrations or something, or perhaps even maybe I just really love hearing the actual female singing pitch sound, which as a result, yeah, it's quite charming, honestly. So, now I suppose the one final thing I want to point out as well is that recently I did somehow discovered about the fact that Despicable Me 4, in terms of the runtime either way, it reportedly has been mentioned is that the final runtime of the film is going to be for about 1 hour and 35 minutes. So, something's worth noting for, just like the forms of how it does it on most Illumination movies since likely or so for the Super Mario Bros. Movie or something. So, anyway. Jeez, that's a one large door that we somehow come across. Which, something tells me this pretty much leads us to the final battle against with Grape. So, yeah, we'll try to do that until the next video, because as far as I'm aware, let me just go ahead and go back onto the forms within the first floor for a bit, so just in case we can able to actually double check what's new in Journey Forms of the actual dress store. And on top of that, like we said this before, that it's probably best if we're able to actually change back into default colors, not just by the forms of Stella, but also with the forms of Peach as well, because it'll make sense to make things make the entire thing a lot more fitting. Actually, kind of thinking about it, there's one other thing I totally forgot to mention about, is that since we did ask this guy right here, in some cases the photographer either way, do you guys even know about the fact that since we've actually collected a whole bunch of those sparkle gems from earlier, well, as you can tell, if you're trying to able to collect all of those sparkle gems, depending on what play you're in, you're able to actually claim yourselves the album option, which means about the fact that you can able to actually check out certain photos that you somehow experienced during your performance. So as you can see, we've now obtained album. So because of that though, we'll check that out after we somehow managed able to obtain every single sparkle gems first. So just to ensure about the fact that we'll see some pictures and so for later. So anyway, so we got ourselves the figure skater dress right here, as well as the special mermaid dress. I love the look of this one because it's filled to the brim with like music notes and all that stuff, which I suppose no matter what though. Oh, there's also the Fonster Sparkle dress as well, but I'm afraid that we don't have enough coins. So don't worry, we'll collect them all eventually. So and in fact, no matter what though, let me just go ahead and change the actual look. Oh yeah, because the reason why the exclamation marks was there, but that's just mainly because if you come across into them for your first time around, then obviously if you select that particular dress as an option, then that particular exclamation mark will disappear for sure. I suppose with the actual detective dress, alongside with the forms of the special detective ribbon, does look pretty nice though. But then again though, I think it's probably best if we're able to actually change that particular combination until probably in the later videos to come. Because like I said before, we're about to able to change back into a default color scheme for not only for Stella, but also with the forms of Peach's dress as well, to make things a little bit more of a perfect setting for. Well, it's hard for me to explain because I think I'm pretty much already explained well enough as it is. So, yeah, because as you can see, there's no rehearsal to be found in journey forms within the 5th floor so far. So this means we have to take care of Grape first before we do anything. So, yeah, we'll just go for this particular default option for not only for Peach, but also with Stella as well. So, yeah, there we go. So yeah, we're back to square one in terms of the forms of the visual design, not only for Peach, but also for Stella as well, since the beginning portion of the game. So, yeah, I suppose with that being said, folks, is that we get endings off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Princess Peach Showtime, is that we're about to face up against with the final boss in the game, which appears to be Grape herself. So we're about to stop her. So we'll see you guys until next Tuesday. Later, fellas.